Hello, this is Neil from iPaintGirls.com. Please visit the website. The link is in the description for more free tutorials. I recommend that you click on drawings and scroll down to noses because I already have a video on the basic idea and structure of the nose, and you might want to, go through that. That way you have a good idea of, the three-dimensionality of the nose and everything. As with anything, if you know how to model it all with clay, or if not, maybe take a modeling class that is with clay, because it's really helpful to be able to model something in 3 dimensions, and it really helps you with your 2D drawing because it implants all this in your head like, oh, that's right, a nose isn't just this shape here. A nose has shape. It's got this part here and it's got these side planes here, and depending where the light's coming from, if the light's coming from straight down, then these two side planes are going to receive shadow and so forth. So it's just important to know the three-dimensional shape of something. And one of the best ways to do that is to model it with clay. Right, so, or whatever you're modeling, whittling away with wood, rock, as long as it's, 3 dimensions, so you understand the full shape of the nose and how it connects to the head and everything. But when doing comic books, you have to reduce a lot. And when you're, drawing, let's say from, you're really trying to you're trying to show shape with just a few lines, and you have to learn how to simplify, because when you're doing panels you have like 4 or 5, sometimes 8 panels per page. A lot of those faces are very tiny, and so you don't have much room even on 11 by 17 piece of paper, whatever, 14 by 17, whatever size paper they work on, and then they reduce it down to 10 by 6, whatever it is, that you have to get used to simplifying even at that larger size. So this is a button nose. Now I think this girl's cute. She might not be like really sexy, but she's definitely cute. And this button nose actually I think is partly what gives her cuteness. If I were to change her nose to a more thin, typical sexy noses that you find in Marvel comics, then she might be sexy. But changing noses could actually give different characteristics like cuteness. So let's go ahead and learn then how to do this, and also keep in mind when simplifying, you choose like what lines and everything to represent. I probably won't be able to have all this shading unless it was a really close up, and then I would do that with color anyway. But the main lines for a button nose in the front is you start out with this line here. That gives you your main your main button nose type of look, and then you just kind of draw thin lines down like that, and then you kind of have this part of the nose here in the nostrils, like so, and then you can kind of put your little, it depends how big the nose is, you can put the nostrils in there like that. And then it really just depends on the kind of button nose you want. There's all different kinds of button noses, and then you just decide what lines you want to represent it with, and then maybe have a few lines on one side or up the middle. Just depends on where the light's coming from, and then you can have like shading on one side, whatever, and have like a highlight like that. And so that's a button nose. And it's important to know what your noses look like from different angles. So I did also a 3/4 view, and then here's that same nose from a 3/4 view, and then here's that same nose from a side view. Notice that even from the side view that you could see its kind of pungy part right here. Then this little shading line up here kind of brings it all together. So what I did for that is you start out with your line here, then you come out with your line this way, and then a typical sexy nose would kind of come down like this. That's like your typical nose. Well, I kind of came down more like almost like a square, and then came down like this. But adding that little line there and then the little shading in here is really what adds that button nose characteristic. And then oftentimes when you're simplifying from a side view, you just do that for the nostrils. If it's a more close-up view, you could kind of have like that, so you can kind of see part of the nostril, whatever. So it's all about simplifying then when you're working with comic books. How can I draw the nose that I want but simplify that nose? And there's all different kinds of noses you can draw. So let's get in some of those different kinds of noses, and we'll start with the front view. I'll make a new layer here. I can just work on it. So let's say one kind of nose that people don't draw too often is an African nose. And African noses can actually be quite cute. And it's not to say that all Africans have the same kind of nose. Let me just draw a guideline so I know where I'm at here. It's not to say that all Africans have the same kind of nose, but the islander nose too is the wider nose. Maybe I shouldn't call it an African nose. Maybe I should just call it a wider nose. But you get the point. So you kind of have this this wider nose. This also can be an islander nose, or Aborigines of Australia. And then there's different kinds of wide noses you can have. You can have a wide nose with this kind of simplified shape like this kind of diamond shape, and that's kind of cool looking. But you can also have more of a round nose. So no matter how wide the nose is, how thin the nose is, there's a couple different kinds of noses that you can draw. And so we can add I didn't want that big of a line coming down, but okay, that's fine. I just wanted it like that. There's all these different kinds of noses that we can draw, and whether they're wide or thin, they're really the same kinds of noses you draw over and over again. And then to show, I'm going to add this like little shadow down here. This is a good way to simplify it too sometimes, is just add like a line and then the shadow down below, and then this nose would be shaded at least on one side, but maybe a little bit on that side too. Right, so anyway, I probably would actually draw that line down a little bit farther like that. And so that's one way. You just want to think of different ways to simplify noses, and a good way to do that is look at photographs and go, okay, I have this photo here and I want to I want that kind of nose on my comic book character, and then just think of ways to reduce the nose. That way you get the kind of nose you want for your character. Now the 3/4 view is a view that you're going to be drawing a lot, so it's good to get used to drawing your noses from that 3/4 view. And there's all different kinds of noses you can do. So for example, one kind of nose you can do from a 3/4 view, I have a whole bunch here that I've been drawing on all these pieces of paper in front of me right now. And so I have all these different kinds of noses, and so I actually keep these reference sheets for myself too, because I'm like, what kind of nose do I want? I can just go to my reference sheet and go, oh yeah, these are cool different noses. And I took all the time to like look at noses for photographs and reduce them, and then look how other comic book artists do it too is a good idea. Right, so anyway, the first thing you'd want to do is you'd have like this line here from the 3/4 view. You kind of see it come all the way like so. And the typical lines, whether it's the side view or 3/4 view, what you'll see a lot is it kind of comes down like this and then like that. So it's kind of like an, not an L, but almost. And then you have this kind of shape like this. It's kind of like that, and that shape can change to where it's more like that, or just depending on the kind of nose. But that shape right there is really the common shape, and then you'd have this kind of shape like that. And then that's how you have your nose. So, but one thing you can do then when you're reducing your nose, let's say I guess I'll bring this, I'll have her kind of have a more of a up nose. No, that's too much. So I'll come down more and then come in like that. Right, anyway, so for the nostril from this view, you can just kind of go like this, where you don't typically, when you do comic books, you don't actually draw the dark part of the nostril, so you just leave it white like that. And so that shape right there is a good shape for the bottom of the nose. You get different shapes, but they're kind of like that. That's one way to do it. And then you can add like this shadowing on it too, like in here like that. And you can just shadow this part, and this part would be a little bit darker. Like when you color it, it'd be like more pinkish. And then if you want, maybe you can add a little, little shading like that. Now that little kind of like diamond shape there, that can either be dark depending where the light's coming from, or it can be light. If the light's coming from this way, this would be lit up bright, and if the light's coming from this way, this would be lit up dark. So that's something to remember. Right, so anyway, as you can see, there's a lot of different ways to simplify, and we'll continue going through. I know that this video I didn't get to cover too much because I had to talk about some introductory stuff before I got into start showing examples and kinds of noses to simplify. Now that same kind of nose from a side view, you can make it a little bit more exaggerated, so you can kind of come almost straight down like this at an angle like that. Then you can kind of have this hook coming out like that, and then you can almost come straight down and then kind of at an angle. It's kind of it takes a little bit of practice to get used to those those little subtle angles. And then from a side view, again, you can just go like that for the thing. Now remember, the nostril is really close to this part here, like so. And part of the nose, part of the shape of the nose, is the piece of skin that comes down right here. That that can be like this, it can be like this, it can be like this. That also is part of the nose shape, and I think it's called the philtrum or something like that. Anyway, so that's it for this video. I guess I'll have to make a part 2 and show more different kinds of noses and ways to simplify them. Basically, I'm just going to show different styles of noses from the different angles, and like what lines you choose to simplify them with shading and everything. Alright, so thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy it, please repay me by just leaving a comment and rating the video. I'd appreciate that. Alright, thank you for watching. Oh, another way to repay me is visit my website in the link. Thanks.